YouTube channel. In this lecture, we are going to solve VOR questions starting from question number 101 to 110. In the previous video lectures, we have done the previous questions of VOR from Keith Williams chapter. In this lecture, we will start with the new questions. So let's begin. Question number 101. Aircraft is flying on a heading of 210 degrees. The variation at VOR is 5 degree west, and at aircraft it is 10 degree west. At aircraft it is 10 degree west. According to HSI, the aircraft is on what radial? Aircraft is on what radial? So we will look 101. In this, we can see that the magnetic heading is 210 degrees, and the variation at aircraft is 10 degree west. Variation at UR station is 5 degree west. We have to find out what radial is aircraft situated on. Okay. So in this case, you can see the head of this needle is pointing at 200. So the course is set to 00, and the 2 from indicator is indicating 2. The 2 from indicator is indicating 2. That means we are going towards the VOR station. We are going towards the VOR station, and we have set a course of 200. Okay. So if the track to the station is 200, so I'm writing it here. The track towards the station is 200. So track away from the station is equal to 200 minus 180, the reciprocal of that, which is equal to 0 to 0. So now track towards the station is your QDM. HSI, all HSI readings will be magnetic. Track away from the station is your QDR. Now QDR is also nothing but your radial. So that means you are situated on radial 0 to 0. Okay. And variation at VOR is 5 degree west, and aircraft is 10 degree west. The aircraft is on what radial? So aircraft will be on radial. It should be on radial 0 to 0, and okay. Now here you can see that the needle is indicating 5 degree right. 5 degree right. So needle has deflected to 5 degree right hand side. That means it is telling aircraft pilot to turn 5 degree right. So that means the pilot of this aircraft is not situated on the center line of the radial. So let's draw the diagram. Diagram wise, if this is your VOR station, this will be your radial 020. This is radial 200. Aircraft is flying inbound on radial 020. Aircraft is flying inbound on radial 020. Okay. Inbound on radial 020, and therefore the course selected on the HSI is 200. Okay. And needle is indicating at 200, and the reciprocal of this 200 is the radial you are situated on, and that will be written here 020. Now if aircraft is tracking right on the center line of this radial, okay, the CDI needle will remain in the center. The CDI needle will remain in the center. Okay, and the 2 from indication here is shown to be 2, is shown towards. But in the question given here, They have drawn an HSI diagram with a course set to 200, radial 020, okay, and the CDI needle is deflected to the right hand side. It's deflected to the right hand side. So if CDI needle is telling you to fly 5-degree right hand side, that means aircraft is deviated from its original track 5-degree to the left hand side. Correct? Now going inbound, this will be your left hand side and this will be your right hand side. Okay, left hand side and that will be your right hand side. So if needle is telling you to fly right, that means aircraft has deviated left hand side. So left hand side going inbound is somewhere here. So that means your aircraft is actually on this side of the VOR. And on this side of the VOR, it will be on a radial. It will be on a radial which is more than radial 020. So it can be radial 030, 040, any value more than 020. But here we know that the needle has deflected 5-degree to the right hand side. That means it is telling this aircraft to go 5-degree right hand side because that is the course that you have set in the HSI. So 5-degree right hand side means aircraft is deviated 5-degree to the left, and 5-degree difference, that means this radial will be labeled or termed radial 0 to 5, radial 0 to 5. That means aircraft is on radial 0 to 5. It should be on radial 0 to 0 to go inbound and then transition on to radial 200. When it overflies the VOR station, the 2 from indicator will start flickering. The CDI needle will also start flickering. And once it transitions onto radial 200, the 2 from indicator will become from. The 2 from indicator will become from. Okay. So 2, when you are flying towards the station, the triangle is above. When you are flying away from the station, it will be below. So currently aircraft is on radial 0 to 5. Radial 0 to 5. It should be on radial 0 to 0, but it is on radial 0 to 5. Question 102. Unless otherwise specified, a radial is what? Now all VOR radials are magnetic in direction and they are great circle tracks. So the magnetic great circle direction from the beacon, the magnetic great circle direction to the beacon. So the correct option is option A. Radials are meant to take you away from the VOR station. Away from the VOR station. So whenever you're flying a radial, you are going to fly away from the VOR station. So the main primary job of radial is to take you away from the VOR station. Away from the VOR station. If you are flying on this radial but tracking towards the VOR station, you will call that course. You will call that course. So course takes you towards the VOR station. Towards the VOR station. Okay, so you have to remember this. Radials take you away from the VOR station, course takes you toward the VOR station. Now there are two instruments. One is OBS selector. Now in OBS selector, you will use the word radial, course, depending whether you're going outbound or inbound. In case of HSI equipment, the course is the only word used for both flying inbound track and flying outbound track. So remember this. So correct answer will be magnetic great circle direction taking you away from the VOR beacon. Question 103. On the RMI, the tip of a VOR needle indicates 060. With the course set 0455, the indications on the HSI will be what? Now your RMI instrument gives you three pieces of information. Magnetic heading, QDM to the VOR station and QDM to the NDB station. Okay, so QDM is indicated by the tip of the needle or head of the needle. Okay, if head of the needle indicates QDM to the station, the tail will indicate QDR away from the station. So QDR is indicated by the tail. QDM is always indicated by the tip or the head of the needle. Now in this case, we have told the tip of a VOR needle indicates 060. That means QDM to the VOR station is 060. If QDM is 060, QDR from the VOR station will be 240. 240. Okay. So now with the core set on 055, the indications on the HSI will be what? So this is your VOR station. Aircraft is on radial 240 going towards radial 060. So, and a magnetic heading is, okay, so magnetic heading is not given. So let's say it is tracking towards the VOR like this with a magnetic heading of 060. Now if you change this course, that is 060, and make it 055, so 055 will be to the left hand side of radial 060 and the reciprocal of radial 055 will be 235. 235. So now going inbound, this is your left hand side, this is your right hand side. Okay, so what will the HSI indication show? First of all, the HSI indication will tell you that aircraft has to fly right hand side by 5 degrees, make a right turn of 5 degrees, intercept radial 235 and then fly on radial 235 inbound so as to overfly this VOR and transition onto radial 055. Okay, so simple. Again, a quick recap. The tip of a VOR needle indicates 060. That means currently the QDM to the VOR station is 060 and therefore QDR is 240. With this, we come to know that we are situated somewhere on radial 240. Whatever the heading of aircraft, that is irrelevant. Now, if you change the course from 060 to a new course 055, so you have to draw that new course 055, draw the reciprocal of that, and HSI will tell you to fly right or left depending on the course selected. Okay, now 055 reciprocal is 235, which is going inbound to the right hand side of radial 240. Okay, so fly right, then fly inbound on this new radial and then transition to the course 055. So it will be HSI indications will be 2 because we are going towards the VOR station and it will be half scale. Now the full scale deflection of a HSI is 10 degree indicated by 2 dots. Half a scale therefore will be 5 degrees indicated by only 1 dot. So here you can see the difference between 240 and 235 is 5 degree. So 1 dot deflection or half a scale deflection to the right hand side, to the right hand side. So option D will be the correct option. Question 104. Aircraft is flying on a heading of 210. The variation at VOR is 5 west and aircraft is 10 west. According to the CDI in the diagram, aircraft is on what radial? So let's look at the question 104 here. Yeah. So the heading is indicated 210. The course is selected course is pointing towards 200. Course is pointing towards 200. And the two from indication is showing you two indication. It's showing you a two indication. Okay. So that means the track towards the VOR station that we have selected is 200. If track towards the VOR station is 200, that means QDM is 200. QDR or the radial we are situated on will be radial 0 to 0. Okay, 0 to 0. So we should be situated, we should actually be situated on radial 0 to 0, flying inbound towards the VOR. So this should be the case actually. This is your VOR station. This is radial 020. This is radial 200. Flying inbound on this radial 020, okay, towards this VOR station. So the HSI indication should be something like this. A magnetic heading of 210, course selected on 200. Therefore, the arrow is pointing towards that course, and the tail of that arrow will be pointing on the radial, will be telling you about your radial, so which will be 020. Now the to and from indication is 2. So the triangle will be on the top. If it is from indication, this triangle will be behind. Okay. And if aircraft is correctly established on the radial and flying on the center line of it, the CDI indication will remain in the center. The CDI indication will remain in the center. Okay. So aircraft should be on radial 020. But in the diagram here, you can see the CDI indication is telling pilot to fly 5 degree right hand side. Fly 5 degree right hand side. If CDI indication is fly 5 degree to the right, that means aircraft is somewhere deviated to the left hand side. Now going inbound, this becomes your left hand side and this becomes your right hand side. So if CDI indication is asking you to fly right, that means aircraft has deviated to the left hand side of the track. That means aircraft is somewhere here. And at this position, the radial which will be passing to this point will be a radial more than 0 to 0. Right hand side values increase. So a radial more than 0 to 0. It can be 0 to 1, 0 to 5, 0 to 0, so on and so forth. But if you look at the diagram here, you can see the deflection has happened to 1 dot right hand side. 1 dot is equal to 5 degree. So that means aircraft has deviated 5 degree to the left hand side, and that will be equivalent to a radial of 0 to 5. Radial 0 to 5. So that means aircraft is situated on radial 0 to 5. It should be on radial 0 to 0, and therefore the CDI indication is asking pilot to fly 5 degree to the right hand side. Intercept that radial and then go inbound on this VOR, towards this VOR. So aircraft is on what radial? Aircraft is on radial 0 to 5. Let's go to question 105. Aircraft is on 065 radial and heading is 090 magnetic. The course reference selector is set on 240. Which HSI in the diagram shows the correct indications? Now look at this. We will draw the diagram. This is your VOR station. This is radial 065. This is radial 060. The reciprocal of radial 060 is radial 240, and the reciprocal of radial 065 will be radial 245. Okay. Now heading of aircraft is 090. So that means aircraft is on radial 065 and its heading is 090. Heading is 090. So which HSI in the diagram shows the correct indication? So your HSI first should show a heading of 090 on the top. Then the course that the pilot has selected is radial is 240 is 240. So 240 will be here somewhere. The reciprocal 060 will be here. So the pilot has selected 040. So the tip of the arrow will be pointing towards 240. The tail will be pointing on the radial on which aircraft is situated. Okay. Now the to from indication will show what? The to from indication will show a to indication, because if you are on this side of the VOR station, you will be flying outbound. If you have selected any course which is on this side of the VOR, like 240, 245, in order to go towards that two radials or those two tracks, you will have to first fly towards the VOR. Okay, so the indication which you will get is the to indication. So for to indication, I am drawing a triangle here. A from indication triangle will be somewhere here behind. The two indications are ahead, from indications are behind the aircraft. Next, what will be the position of the CDI needle? Now, in order to go on to radial 240, you have to first go to radial 060 and then track radial 060 inbound and then go towards that radial 240. So we will see what options we have, and then we will eliminate a few options. So look at this. So first, to begin with, look at the magnetic heading. In all the four figures, we have a heading of 090, 090. So that's fine. Next, the course selected is 240. So here you can see the course pointer, the tip of the needle is 240. Over here, the tip of the needle is 240. Over here, the tip of the needle is 240. And also here, the tip of the needle is 240. The next thing I told you that we should get a to indication. For a to indication, the triangle should be ahead of aircraft. So the triangle is ahead of aircraft. So here, over here, and over here, the triangle is behind aircraft. Okay, so these two options are eliminated. Charlie and Delta is eliminated. We are left with option A and option B. Now, whether the needle will go to the right hand side or to the left hand side. Okay, so from the current position, we are on a heading of 090 on radial 065. To go to radial 060, we will have to make a left turn. Okay, from the current position, we will have to make a left turn and then go to 060 and track inbound radial 060. So the correct option will be a left turn from the current aircraft, which will be option Bravo. Option Bravo. Okay, a left turn, heading is correct, the course selected is correct, the to indication is showing on is visible to you. Okay, and the turn that the needle will go to is your left turn, telling pilot to make a left turn because 060 is to the left hand side of 065. Now the HSI indications register aircraft heading. Depending on your aircraft heading, you will get left and right indications. Okay, so now with a heading of 090, you will be flying outbound. Okay, so unlike OBS selector where we have to ignore heading of aircraft, in HSI we have to take the heading of aircraft into consideration. Looking at the heading of aircraft, we will come to know whether we are flying inbound or outbound, and with respect to that, we will get a left indication or right indication. Now, with the heading of 090, you are bound to fly outbound or go away from the VOR station. Going away, this is your left side, this is your right side, and therefore the CDI needle will tell you to fly left, which will be easier, and to intercept that and then track inbound. Okay, so diagram B will be the correct option. Next, question 106. Which statement is correct about different types of VOR? A terminal VOR has a limited range. A VOT, VOR test facility, is located on an airway with the purpose to provide in-flight check of the airborne equipment. A conventional VOR is used for instrument approaches. A Doppler VOR is less accurate than conventional VOR. So option D is incorrect. Doppler VOR is more accurate than a conventional VOR because it eliminates sight error. A VOT, that is VOR test facility, is located on the airport, not on some airway. So that is wrong. A terminal VOR has a limited range. A conventional VOR is primarily used for instrument approaches. So VORs are primarily used for navigation purposes, not for instrument approaches. We do use VOR for approaches, but that is not the primary task of it. Okay. So option A will be the correct option. A terminal VOR has a limited range. Question 107. A VOR and NDB are located at same position. Both VOR and ADF readings are displayed on the RMI. The aircraft is tracking away from beacons along the radial 090. The magnetic variation is changing rapidly. Which of the following is correct? So over here we have VOR station and NDB station on the ground. An aircraft is tracking radial 090 outbound. Radial 090 outbound. Okay. Now, whenever we are dealing with VOR and NDB questions, we have to remember that in case of VOR, the variation is applied at the VOR station. Variation is applied at the VOR station. In case of NDB station, variation is applied at aircraft location. At aircraft location. So you have to remember this, okay? Next very important thing is that where the VOR is situated on the ground, variation is going to remain fixed because VOR is not moving, the ground is not moving. So variation is going to remain fixed. But here is aircraft. Now aircraft will fly from A to B to C. It will go on flying. And as it flies across different areas, different regions, different countries, the variation will change from place to place. And therefore, in case of VOR, the variation remains constant, but in case of NDB, the variation is constantly changing because aircraft is moving. It's not doesn't aircraft doesn't stay at one place. And therefore, in case of NDB, variation will be changing along with aircraft movement. So the correct option here will be the direction of the VOR pointer will change, the direction of the ADF pointer will not change. So that is wrong. ADF pointer will change, VOR pointer will not change. That is right. Both ADF pointer and VOR pointer will change. That is wrong. Neither ADF pointer nor VOR pointer will change. This is also wrong. So the correct option is option Bravo. The VOR pointer. In your RMI, there are two needles, one for VOR, another for ADF, NDB, ADF. So the VOR needle is going to remain constant, will be pointing in one direction only because the variation at VOR station remains constant. Opposed to that, the NDB needle, ADF needle will keep on changing as variation changes from place to place. With variation changing, the track towards the station, track away from the station will also change by some value. So accordingly, the ADF NDB needle will also change. Okay, so ADF pointer changes, but the VOR pointer doesn't change. Question 108. Aircraft is flying on 245 radial with a heading of 250 degrees. On the CDI, the course is set 060. Which of the CDIs in the diagram shows the correct indications? So let's draw this diagram. This is your VOR station. Aircraft is on radial 245. The reciprocal of 245 is 065. Heading of aircraft is 250. Okay, and you have set the course to 060. So that means in your OBS selector you have selected a course of 060, and 060 is reciprocal of 240. Okay, now this is a case of CDI, not HSI. So you have to ignore heading of aircraft. Your aircraft is now located on radial 245. It has to go on to radial 060. Now to go to radial 060, it will have to track radial 240 inbound. So it will track this radial 240 inbound like this, overfly the VOR station. After overflying, it will transition on to the next radial, which is radial 060 automatically. So what will be the OBS selection that you have to make? In your OBS, you have to make a selection of 060 so as to get a 2 indication. And now the CDI indication. The CDI needle will move left or right. Let's see. Now going inbound, we have to go inbound because we have to go to radial 060, which is on other side of the VOR station. Now going inbound, this becomes your left hand side, this becomes your right hand side, right? Currently we are on radial 245. From this radial 245, we have to come to the radial 240. We have to come to radial 240. Now going inbound, 240 is to the right hand side of 250. So therefore the CDI needle will move to the right hand side. The CDI needle will move to the right hand side, 2.5 dots right hand side, which is equal to 5 degrees, telling pilot to fly right so as to intercept radial 240, okay, and then fly inbound VOR. So the correct option will be, so let's look at these four options. 060 is everywhere selected in the OBS. The 2 from indication should show 2. So this is 2 indication, 2 indication. These two are from indications. So this option and this option is eliminated. And then the CDI needle will tell you to fly 2.5 dots right hand side. Uh, so 5 degree, yeah, 2.5 dots to the right hand side. So the right hand side indication is shown only in diagram delta. So the correct option is figure D is the correct answer, because in figure A, the CDI is telling you to fly left. In figure D, you are getting a right indication. So D is the correct answer. Next, question 109. Aircraft is flying on 170 radial. Heading is 315. The course is set to 180. Which CDI shows the correct indications? Very simple. So this is your VOR station. This is radial 170. This is radial 180. Okay. The reciprocal of 170 is 350. The reciprocal of 180 is 360. Now your aircraft is situated on radial 170. Now since this is not an HSI sum, I'm not going to pay attention to the heading of aircraft. Now we are on this side of the VOR, right? And we are on radial 170. So if I put radial 170 in the OBS selection, I get a from indication and the needle remains in the center. And now I have changed this OBS selection to a new selection of 180. Okay, so when I do that, The to from indication remains from, and the CDI needle will go to the right hand side. Will go to the right hand side. Why right hand side? Because radials take you away from the VOR station. Now going outbound, this is your left hand side, this is your right hand side. So 180 is to the right of 170. The OBS selector, this CDI indicator or this OBS indicator doesn't know the heading of aircraft that it is flying inbound towards the VOR with the current heading. Okay, it only knows or it only registers the selection that we have done in the OBS selector. Okay, if you are on radial 170 currently, the CDI needle remains in the center. You change it to a course of 180 or radial 180. With that, the CDI needle will go to the right hand side, telling you to fly right, or telling you that the radial that you have selected 180 is to the right hand side of radial 170 on which you are currently situated. Now, if we put some other radial, for example, 350 or 360, okay, we will get a 2 indication over here. Okay, now with 170, the reciprocal is 350. So if you put 350 here, the CDI needle remains in the center because aircraft is on the center of the radial, and this will become a 2 indication. If you put 360 here instead of 180, from indication will become a 2 indication, and in that case the CDI needle will go to the left hand side, because going inbound, this is your left hand side and this is your right hand side. So in order to go to radial 360, you will have to first go on radial 180, so left turn, and then track radial 180 inbound. Okay, but now we have not put 360, we have put 180. So we have got from indication with a right hand deflection. So let's check the options here. So the correct option will be, so the correct option will be a from indicator. So in this two, option Charlie and option Bravo, you are getting a 2 indication. So Bravo and Charlie are wrong. In Alpha you are getting a left hand deflection. In Delta you are getting a right hand deflection. So Delta is the correct option. 180 OBS selection, from indication, and the CDI needle asking you to turn right hand side. Now let's go to the last question of this lecture. Aircraft is flying on a heading of 210. Variation at VOR is 5 west. Variation at aircraft is 10 west. Which VOR RMI corresponds to the indications on the CDI shown in the diagram? So heading is 210. So let's pay attention to that. So in all these 4 RMI indications, you can see a heading of 210 correctly depicted. Okay, so there is no fault in this at this point. Next, this is your OBS selection. Now in this OBS selection, you are getting a 2 indication, and you have selected a course of 200. If you have selected a course of 200, that means aircraft is on radial 020. So let's draw the figure. This is your VOR station. Aircraft is on radial 020. You have selected radial 200. So that means aircraft is flying inbound on a heading of 210, and the OBS selection should be something like this: 200 here, 2 indication, and the CDI needle must remain in the center, provided aircraft is on the center of the radial. Okay, right? Aircraft has deviated left or right hand side, so the CDI needle will also deflect left or right, telling pilot to go left and right accordingly. So now in this case, in the question here, the CDI has deviated or deflected to the right hand side. Okay, it has deflected to the right hand side by pi degree. Two dots means one dot equals to 5 degree. So now going inbound, if you have selected 200 with a 2 indication, that means aircraft intends to fly inbound towards VOR. Going inbound, this is your left hand side, this is your right hand side. And if the CDI needle is telling you to fly right, fly 5 degree right, that means aircraft has deviated from its track, deviated 5 degree left. Now going inbound, this is your left hand side. So aircraft is somewhere to the left hand side, somewhere here, let's say, okay. And over here, the radial passing through that position will be a radial which is more than radial 020 because it is to the right hand side. So it can be 021, 025, 030. But we know that the deviation that has happened is by 5 degree. So this radial becomes your radial 025. So that means currently aircraft is on radial 025. It should be on radial 020 flying inbound. That's why the CDI needle has moved 5 degree to the right hand side, telling pilot to go 5 degree right because that's where the needle or that's where your track is. The track 020, okay, inbound. Correction, track 200 inbound or radial 020 inbound. Okay. So next thing is, so we are currently situated on radial 025. So the RMI needle, the tail of the needle should be indicating 025 and the head of the needle should be indicating QDM, that is reciprocal of 025, which is 205. Okay, the track towards the station from the current position and track. So we are currently on track 025 from the station, and the track towards the station will be reciprocal of 025, which will be radial 205. So the RMI indication should show these two positions. So now in option A, the head should point towards 205. So over here it is pointing at 195. So eliminate option A. In B, the head is pointing at 015. So that is wrong. Charlie, the head is pointing at 025. So that is wrong. In Delta, the head is pointing at 205 accurately. So delta is the correct option. So the head should point 205. The tail should point 025. So 205 is where the head lies and 025 is the tail, that is the radial on which aircraft is currently situated. So very easy. And with this question, we have come to the end of this lecture. So I hope you have understood all the 10 questions I have done now, all practical questions. And these questions will definitely get asked in your CPL exam, ATPL exam, airline exams perhaps. So keep practicing these questions again and again, okay, and revise them. Look at the video. Maybe you will not, it may happen that you may not understand this procedure first time, second time, but keep practicing. Follow what I say, draw the diagrams, write, have a writing practice, and with that you will be able to grasp this concept and solve similar questions on your own. I wish you all the best. Keep watching my videos. Hit the like button if you have liked this lecture. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet, and share this video with all your friends. Thank you for your time. All the best.